All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know everybody should be very busy today. We are all of us are extremely busy. I'm lucky that the folks behind me have able to take some time from their busy day to join us here today. So I will introduce everyone. I'll start with Sherry, who we're just saying seems to become a member of our team from the Deaf Action Center. I am Cynthia Lee Sheng, the Jefferson Parish President. I'm joined by our Sheriff of Jefferson Parish, Sheriff Joseph Lopinto, our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente, our Director of Public Works, Mark Drews, our Director of Drainage, Mitch Terrio, and they're going to all give you updates. Our Chief Administrative Assistant, Sarah Babcock. From Entergy, we have Patrick Hamby to talk about the preparations they're doing. From the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East, Kelly Chandler. And from the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West, we have Nick Calley as well as Scott Burke. Our chief of our East Bank Consolidated Fire Department, Chief Dave Tibbetts, our director of the West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams, our superintendent of Jefferson Parish Schools, Dr. James Gray, as well as our council chairman, Councilman Scott Walker. I did speak to Councilman Ricky Template. He is actually on Grand Isle. Councilman for District 1, Marion Edwards, is in his district. He is tying up some last minute things and some meetings. We have Councilman from District 2, Dino Bonanno, Councilman from District 3, Byron Lee, Councilman from District 4, Dominic Impastato, and Councilwoman from District 5, Councilwoman Jennifer Van Rankin, as well as our Mayor of Gretna, Belinda Constant, and our Mayor of West Wego, Robert Billiard. So again, thank you all for being with us today. I know everybody is very, very busy. Today is a day that we should be spending making our preparations. So you should be canceling all of your other events and making preparations for this storm. All of our parish program has been suspended as of earlier today. All of our testing and vaccination sites stopped at noon. We will not have any activity this weekend, and our offices will be closed on Monday because we are completely in storm mode. I want to remind everyone, and what everyone is saying, do not focus on the center track. This is a major storm. It could flip at the last minute. We could be very vulnerable with just small degrees of change. So this is a major storm coming our way. Yesterday, I signed an emergency declaration so that we could be moving assets and pre-positioning some of our pumps. So that was done yesterday. So we will have a mandatory evacuation for those communities outside of the levee protection system. I've been on the phone with Mayor Carmodel and Mayor Kerner. So Grand Isle has been a mandatory evacuation as of 11 a.m. today, mandatory for Grand Isle, and also Lafitte, Lower Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point, also under a mandatory evacuation. These folks are very vulnerable. They're outside of our levee protection system. They're very vulnerable to storm surge. So those are mandatory evacuation areas. If you are within the levee protection system, it is a voluntary evacuation. The first effects of this will be happening Saturday night. There is not a lot of time. Generally, where you are on Saturday night is where you have to hunker down and stay. So there is not a lot of time to do this. You need to be spending the day and coordinating with your family and making these decisions about what you're going to do for this storm if you're under a voluntary evacuation, okay? Obviously, you have to weigh the direct risks of the storm and where you're located with hurricane force winds, with the storm surge, heavy rainfall, widespread flooding. You also have to consider the secondary effects of a hurricane that happen that are not directly weather-related, right? So electrical outages, if water is not available to you, if the stores are closed, the grocery stores, the drugstores are closed. All of those modern-day amenities are not going to be available to you if you're somebody that vulnerable and needs to get out early. These are the considerations that you and your family should be weighing right now. If you are very vulnerable physically and you might need a doctor or medical community. Remember, our first responders are an incredible group of people, but they stop when the winds get to a certain level. They cannot go out and provide those services until after the storm passes. Just be aware, and these are, of course, the considerations that you need to be. How vulnerable are you? If these services are not available to you, you have to weigh that into your decision-making today, and you need to do it quickly. I'm going to give you an update on our public works, but we have our drainage and our Mitch and Mark here. But the good news for Jefferson Parish, we have 194 out of 195 pumps available. We are working very, very long shifts in our Public Works Department, in our Streets Department, in our Drainage Department, catching, cleaning our basins, picking up debris, monitoring those canal levels, ensuring all the tanks are topped off, the vehicles, the pump stations. We're pre-positioned pumps already in our lower lying areas, and ensuring obviously that all of our construction sites are secured. I have to give you a reminder that we are still very high with COVID. That is another layer that's on top of all of these preparations for this storm. Our hospitals at our high capacity. I've been to hospitals after a storm, and it's flooded with people that fell off of ladders, have a tree branch in their eye, all of these kind of other injuries that come after a storm. That is not the position we need to be right now. That is not the position that our medical community can handle right now. We have all got to be in a position of trying to help our medical community. They have their hands full dealing with COVID patients. We do not need to be able to give them any more, and we don't need any unnecessary injuries because of this storm. So please, I know if you decide to stay and after the storm, people want their house back together immediately, please consider that. Be very, very careful. I would not want to be going to a hospital right now, and I don't think you do either. So let's just be very, very mindful of that, okay? So we know this drill, what we should be doing, clearing our catch basins in front of our house. We have good neighbors on every street that go up and down and clear those catch basins to give our drainage system, which is a very expensive system, very sophisticated system, the best possible way of moving water. So that's getting the debris out of those catch basins. You should be taking in your garbage cans and securing all your outdoor furniture and your grills and anything that could be high projectiles in the wind, tying down all those items. Preparing for electrical outages. My friend just texted me, are we gonna have garbage pickup tomorrow? Do I start throwing food away? Yes, we will have garbage pickup tomorrow, so I'm sure she's emptying her freezer. Obviously, we live with a lot of open canals that are very, very hazardous during flood events. So remind everyone, sometimes when it gets flooded, you don't know where the road ends and the open canal begins. It is a very, very dangerous situation. And remember, the road repair can be hidden by water as well. You can damage your car, okay? So we want to remind everyone to avoid driving. It's to not cause a wake and cause property damage if you stay. And be very mindful of electricity and the dangers of that after a storm, all right? So secure your water if you're going to stay, your food, your medication, your flashlights, the first aid kits, the masks, all of those things, and start now talking to your family, communicating with your family, checking on vulnerable neighbors, checking on vulnerable relatives, monitor frequently the weather reports, and know what your evacuation route is, and have a second route as part of your plan. All right, some housekeeping events, as I've said. Garbage collection is gonna occur tomorrow as scheduled, but all 4 Jefferson Parish drop-off sites and the residential drop-off site at the landfill are gonna be closed on Sunday. Curbside and curbside garbage and recycling collection is also canceled on Monday, and there's gonna be no makeup day. Again, I will repeat, our offices will be closed on Monday as well. We want to remind people, please do not put your bulky waste out on the curb. This is all dangerous during a storm. You just got to keep it and secure it until this storm is over. They will pose a risk and a hazard. We also don't need all of that garbage floating around in the streets, right? And then transit, at this time, we don't have any changes to our transit service. Our transit and our MITS buses, our medical buses are going to run as long as they can and as long as they're safe, and we'll let you know if they start to close. But right now, all of that is going to operate as planned until and as long as weather permits. And we want to encourage everybody to stay updated. You can get our text alerts, JP Alert, to 888-777. For our Spanish-speaking citizens, JP Noticias to 888-777. We want everyone to be safe and be mindful and be prepared. And as I said, pay attention frequently to your news and to all of your elected officials. So with that, the next speaker I want to introduce up is our Sheriff of Jefferson Parish, Sheriff Joseph Lopinto.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to be brief. Spoke with both the Chief of Lafitte and Chief of Grand Isle, offering any assistance that we need for those areas. Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is always prepared, ready to continue to answer the call for service as long as we can. Give everybody that has the means and has the ability of whether they should evacuate. You know, if you have the ability to do so, get out of here. The reality of it is the less people that we have on the street, the less people calls for service that we have to deal with over the next few days. It makes it easier on the men and women that are going to stay here, put their lives in danger to be able to handle things. So if you can get out of here, you have the means to be able to do so, do so. Remind everybody the emergency and non-emergency number here in Jefferson Parish is 911. Any calls for service should go through a 911. My dispatchers will be here to be able to answer any of those calls and provide services as best that we can. Sheriff's Office is going to be able to have many additional patrols out. If you plan on evacuating and leaving, be rest assured that not only do they do a good job on an everyday basis, but all of my detectives that are normally handling detective issues, handling regular will be handling regular calls of service with additional patrols out in the street to make sure your property is safe if you leave it behind. I'm sure there'll be people in town, that have different problems. Call us. We certainly will be able to try to help as much as we can. But be prepared to hunker down and know that once the storm passes, stay in your house for an extra day. Give us the ability to clear the roadways of whether it's electrical lines or tree debris. Last storm last year, I saw several people out driving where trees were completely covering the road and they're driving at night. You can't see it, the lights are out, and we don't need the accidents for us to have to go respond to with the additional injuries. Stay in your house an extra day or so, especially at night. Give us the ability to clear off those roadways so we can get back to Jefferson Parish as normal, hopefully by the end of next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our next speaker is our Director of Emergency Management, Joe Valiente.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. Currently, we're well underway as far as our preparations are concerned. We actually started 2 days ago, and actually we started working with the various departments, drainage, water, sewage, and streets a week ago as it related to this potential threat that was developing all week long. I just want to make mention of a couple things. The EOC is currently on a standby level. We're going to go full activation tomorrow at 7 p.m. One of the things that we're doing a little bit differently for this storm, because of the COVID, we're monitoring the 13 parish nursing homes a little closely, and we're going to assist the local hospitals in terms of by helping the local public with changing out their oxygen bottles. Sarah Babcock will address that in further detail when she speaks in a moment. Also, I want to mention that we're working closely with JPSO and the West Bank firefighters, and we've got search and rescue high water vehicles that have already been pre-staged. So in the event this turned out to be a heavy water event, which it could between the surge and the lower Jefferson Parish and the heavy rainfall that's anticipated, we're expecting some flooding that's going to occur. I do have to circle back to what Sheriff Lopinto said. Do not leave your homes during a storm or right after. Look at what happened last week in Tennessee in Humphrey County. You had 17 inches of rain which dropped in that municipality in 16 hours that resulted in 27 fatalities. You do not want to be out on the street during or immediately after the storm passes. Give everything time to settle down again. Remember on this storm, we're looking at wind, storm surge, and power outages. Patrick Hamby is also from Energy is going to follow around on that. But just bear in mind how difficult it's going to be in Jefferson Parish on Monday if we lose the power grid completely. It is not going to be a pleasant place to be. So I just want to advise everyone to continue to monitor the local news stations, radio stations. When you're on social media, make sure that you're on a site that the information is vetted, and keep track of this storm every couple of hours so that you can make an informed decision, especially if it comes to the point where we have to ask for a mandatory evacuation. If it comes to that point, you have to be ready now, not then. One last point I want to make is that the longer a person waits to evacuate, the longer it's going to take them to get out of harm's way, because you're going to be running into a tremendous amount of traffic, and you don't want that to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that. I am sending my family away. So, again, this is good advice that you're hearing. If you can get out, get out. It is not, right now, a mandatory evacuation for within the levee protection system, but I'm sending my family away because this is a big storm heading our way, and we have the ability to get out. So, please, let's just not stay because it's inconvenient, okay? The Director of Public Works and the Director of Drainage, we have Mark Drews and Mitch Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Works departments are ready. We have an experienced staff that's diligently prepared for hurricane season. They capably handled Hurricane Zeta last year and its aftermath. We have a majority of our supervisors who have 20-plus years' experience, so they've been through multiple storms. So as our most valuable asset, they are ready. When it comes to our water system, we have a major treatment plant on the East Bank and the West Bank. Both have safe rooms with the capability where the employees can actually run the plants from inside if necessary, so we will have water before, during, and after the storm. In addition, they have backup generators with a 5-day supply of diesel fuel, so we can withstand an extended energy outage. Similarly, our sewer treatment plants are capable of handling that outage as well, as they all have backup generators at all of our major plants, 4 on the West Bank, 1 on the East Bank, that have that 5-day supply of fuel. Our streets department will have pre-positioned vehicles, equipment, and manpower, so in the aftermath of the storm, they can immediately begin to clear the roadways of debris. In addition, they'll work in conjunction with our traffic engineering department. They have the capability to put barricades up as necessary to close off streets if we have flooding or if there's dangerous conditions. Similarly, our Parkways division has pre-positioned equipment so that they can immediately begin clearing trees from our down roadways, and they will work in concert with energy when those trees are tangled in power lines. Finally, drainage is always the hot topic when it comes to these type of storms. Unfortunately for us, Mitch Terrio, our drainage director, has been with the parish about 25 years, so he's managed multiple storm events and knows our drainage system like the back of back of his hand, and I'll turn it over to Mitch.
Thank you, Mark. As the parish president said, we have one pump out of service. It's it's a small pump in Lafitte and at the Goose Bayou pump station, small enough that we're able to replace that capacity with some portables that are installed out there. In addition to the permanent pumps, we've also installed 24 portable pumps. They're located in Lafitte and in Grand Isle. Our stations are going to be manned throughout the event, probably starting at noon tomorrow. We'll have someone in there 24 hours a day, and of course, the rain tonight and tomorrow, we certainly will be covering that as well. Should the storm become greater than a Category 3, the pump stations themselves are fortified and designed for the guys to be in there safely for up to a Category 3 storm. If it gets greater than that, we have 13 safe houses located throughout the parish, east and west, where the guys can move into. Those are designed for up to a Category 5 storm surge and an F5 tornado wind speed, about 250 miles an hour. So they're outfitted with food and water for days, so those guys will never be evacuated again. What we've been doing yesterday and today, and actually we do it every Monday, is run through all of our equipment, anything related to any piece of equipment that is needed to run a pump station, checking fuel levels, oil, other fluid levels, making sure that's all good to go. We've been using them a few times this week due to the rain, but we checked them again today, and so tomorrow when the guys get to the station at noon, I'm sure they'll be running through all of the systems once again. That's on the pump station side. On the drainage collection side of things, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and as long as we can on Sunday, our guys and gals have all converted themselves into catch basin cleaners. So we are checking canals, looking for any debris that needs to be removed. Multiple people, 2 other public works departments have converted their folks into catch basin cleaners as well. So I think we have in the neighborhood of 20 crews cleaning catch basins, mainly looking for debris on top of catch basins. We do have the Vector trucks out that are cleaning drain lines. And that'll again be going on all day tomorrow and as long as we can on Sunday. And as soon as the event passes, we'll be back out on the street as quickly as possible doing those same things. I think I think there's actually chances of rain again later next week, so we want to make sure that the streets are clear and catch basins, canals, all are open, because it doesn't look like we're going to get a long break. So that's about it. Ready to go. Hoping for the best.
Next, we have one of the newest members of our team, Chief Administrative Assistant Sarah Babcock.
Good afternoon. First, I just want to reiterate that all of our COVID-19 testing and vaccination sites at the Ilaria Center, Delta Playground, Bright Playground, and Bonneville Boat Launch have been closed as of noon today. Those samples will still be run, and you'll be able to collect the result online. Every hurricane is a threat to health and our life safety. And so while COVID-19 is still very much a part of our community, we need to take the threat of this hurricane seriously. So if you are asked to evacuate, you need to consider that before you consider the other ramifications of COVID. We do have evacuation and orders in a number of places, as the parish president mentioned. If you're inside the levee protection, I would also advise that you evacuate if you have serious medical conditions. You may not be able to get adequate care. We may have issues getting you back to dialysis after a storm, and you should expect to lose power for a number of days with a storm. So if you are at home on oxygen, on ventilators, internal feeding, other medical equipment, it is important that you go ahead and evacuate now. We've been in touch with all of our local healthcare facilities. We do have 2 nursing homes and 3 assisted living facilities that are currently in evacuation mode. They are having people evacuate today. For everyone else, we will continue to maintain contact with them as they shelter in place. If you have a loved one in a nursing home, you may want to consider whether or not you want to evacuate them on your own, and make sure you are up to date on those nursing home plans. All of our dialysis facilities are currently operational and trying to add in extra clients throughout today and tomorrow. If you are on dialysis and you missed an appointment this week, it is really critical that you get in to be dialyzed before this storm hits, because there may be a period of time without power or water that we have a delay in those services. We've also been in touch with our hospitals and EMS. As you know, our hospitals have been full for weeks now. EMS is extremely busy. We are asking everyone to stay out of our hospitals unless you have a life-threatening injury or illness. If today you are not feeling well, today is the day to call your primary care provider or seek care in an outpatient setting. You will not have access to those services over the weekend. We also want to make sure that if you lose power and you need oxygen, that you are not going to an emergency room or calling 911 for that purpose. After the storm, we will have oxygen distribution sites set up where you can come get a tank or swap out old tanks. Please, again, do not go to the emergency room or call 911 just because you need oxygen. We will have distribution sites open post-storm. We are prepared to open shelters during the storm, and again, any storm this hurricane season, we will be using congregate shelters. Everyone will be required to wear masks. We will do daily temperature checks, and we have the ability to isolate people who are under COVID quarantine or COVID positive. Individuals who are homeless and need to seek shelter can call 504-736-6264. They need to leave a message, and someone will call them back about transportation to a safe place to stay. Because we have such high rates of COVID-19, places that whether you're sheltering in congregate settings or staying in a hotel, or maybe you're just gonna go stay with friends and family. It is important that you remember our COVID restrictions. You want to wear masks, even if you're staying with friends or family in the same household. You need to social distance as much as possible, and being fully vaccinated is the best way to protect yourself in these settings. So if you have the opportunity to go get a vaccine, it may not provide a lot of protection for this weekend, but it will for whatever we have to come this hurricane season. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, from Entergy, we have Patrick Hamby to go over all of the preparations from Entergy.
Thank you very much. Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. We have been monitoring this storm and actually preparing for it for multiple days now. We are wrapping up our pre-storm checklist. That is similar things that the parish has been doing, making sure our trucks and our equipment are fueled up and ready to go. We're moving equipment in the lower lying areas that are prone to flood up to higher ground. We're installing flood protection in those areas to substations and other pieces of equipment that we cannot relocate as well. We are also performing today, as we can, weather permitting, proactive reliability work to help harden the system just that last little bit before the storm comes in. That includes vegetation work as well. Specifically, we've been going down the feeders that serve the critical customers, such as hospitals and nursing homes, the airport, so on and so forth, to make sure that there are no conditions that are there that we could easily take care of today ahead of the storm, and we're doing that. The caveat is no aerial work can be done if the winds are in excess of 30 miles an hour, so no buckets can be up in the air. We can't be using hot sticks or other equipment that has to go up in the air because the wind could blow it into the conductors and it could cause serious injury. So that is a restriction, an OSHA restriction. We are also working through a multitude of logistics required for this response. We've done it many, many times before. Nonetheless, it's a challenging effort with many, many steps. We're engaging our mutual aid resource process. That's the group of utilities around the broader region that shares resources when we have a disaster in one area versus another. We get our troops together and help each other out. So we've already engaged that. That includes a resource pool of thousands of extra potential employees, utility workers that is, to come help us with our restoration needs. We're also acquiring specialized equipment that would include rear alley machines, which you'll notice would be needed in areas like Old Metairie where you have rear alley service. You have to have smaller equipment to get back into those tight areas. We also are getting high water vehicles, swamp buggies, and helicopters as well. Something new that's been a trend for the last few years is we're engaging drone resources to help us with our damage assessment once the storm has passed too. As far as our plans go, we have everything under control. We have enacted our tried, tested plan. We're engaged, we're mobilized right now. But the most important thing to do right now is to have your plan for you and your family. As we mentioned, if you're here, or the parish president rather mentioned, if you're here tomorrow, late afternoon, you're pretty much here. So make sure that you have your water, your generator if you're gonna use it, and your medicines and everything else in place, or also, as it's been suggested, have an alternative plan to evacuate. Visit the EnergyStormCenter.com. We have tips on planning kits, what to bring with you if you do leave, the generator safety, which Chief Tibbetts will hit on here later, in our power restoration process. It has some helpful diagrams that could answer many questions. Get the Entergy app too. It has estimated restoration times available, so if you do leave, or even if you stay home, you're informed on what the estimated restoration time is for your neighborhood, and then as the time goes on for your individual house. We are also available communication-wise on Facebook and Twitter for updates. Listen to your local leadership, heed the warnings. If evacuations are required, evacuate and get out. Follow those rules. Don't try to be brave and end up getting hurt or worse, costing lives. So I mentioned a few things about our plan, and I mentioned that the customers and our neighbors and friends and family need to prepare now. What I'll give you as far as power outages go is, and this is from a historical perspective, it's an average, it's an estimate, but based off of Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, Isaac, and then last year we had the 3, Laura, Delta, and Zeta. If a Category 1 hurricane comes, and this is based off of history, it's an average, it's an estimate, but it's a good reference point to use when you're making your plans, if you're gonna stay or not. For a Category 1, 90% of the customers will be restored in about 7 days. So that does mean there are outages that could be 7 days or longer. And for a Category 2, that number goes up to 10 days. For a Category 3, it's 14 days. For a Category 4, it's 21 days. And hopefully we never have to deal with a Category 5, but it's beyond 21 days. And again, that's a reference point when you're making your plans. If you cannot stay long enough for that 7 days for a Category 1, 10, 14, 21 for a Category 3, please evacuate or make alternative plans with the generator. It goes without saying, but you can never say it enough. Stay away from down power lines. Don't try to guess if it's a Cox line, an AT&T line, or an Entergy line. Stay away, call 1-800-ENTERGY, report it, and we will be there to make sure that it gets fixed. It may take some time if it's a catastrophic event, so stay away from down lines. Now is the time to review and engage your plan. Keep your guard up, and please stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Our next speaker is Kelly Chandler from the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority East.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon. The Flood Protection Authority East operates and maintains over 192 miles of levee, flood walls, and flood gates. The system has been inspected. The gates have been exercised. The system is in good condition. We are ready and confident that the system will perform as designed. Yesterday, we closed 24 land-based gates. Today, we expect to close 27 gates. And then tomorrow, we are expecting to close another 51 gates. As everybody has said, we urge residents to have a plan, be properly insured, have your supplies ready, and be ready to weather out the storm. We will stand up our EOC tomorrow morning at 6, and we expect to have everything buttoned up by Sunday morning ahead of the storm's arrival. If you need additional information, please visit our website at www.floodauthority.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Next, we will have Nick Calley and Scott Burke from the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority West.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Nick Calley. I'm the Regional Director of the Flood Protection Authority West. With me is the President of our Board of Commissioners, Mr. Scott Burke. The West Authority operates and maintains all of the flood protection infrastructure, the hurricane flood protection infrastructure on the West Bank. So we have 68 floodgates that are land-based with about 80 miles of levees, flood walls, and other features. For this storm, we've begun closing non-essential gates already. We will complete all of the closures tomorrow by 5 p.m. Now, a couple things I do want to point out. This storm will most likely require the operation of the West Closure Complex. That is the largest pump station in the world. That is significant. The second thing, the Highway 45 gate will be closed at 5 p.m. tomorrow. We're closing it at 5 p.m. tomorrow. We've made the coordination with fire and EMS so that they understand it. Residents should use Lafitte-LaRose Highway as an alternate route on that. We began, we stepped up our EOC this morning at 6 a.m. at a partial activation. We're going to go to a full activation at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, at which point we were going to close the entire system. We are trained, we are ready, we've done this before, we've inspected the system. We're confident in the performance of the system, so we ask residents to please listen to your elected leaders, do what you know is right to do, and be safe. Thank you very much.
I just have one comment regarding West Closure Complex. If we have to operate it, we will be mindful of our friends down in Crown Point, Lafitte, and Barataria. Since the last storms, we have operated the pumps in the gate, and we have a better idea since taking this structure over from the Corps, how to operate it. And we've put 3 gauges, one in Crown Point, one in Lafitte, and one in Barataria to help us understand how much water we're pushing down into those communities. So with that, I think we will have it covered. Thanks.
Obviously, working in close coordination with our sheriff's office, especially in response right before the storm and right after, is our fire services. So Chief of East Bank Consolidated Fire, Chief Tibbetts, as well as our Director of the West Bank Fire Services, Brian Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. East Bank Consolidated Fire Department stands ready to serve, as always. I do want to take my time to talk about the thing I talk about all the time is generators. It's the thing that keeps me up at night. Be cautious if you're using one. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. If you're using a portable generator, please keep it 5 to 15 feet away from any part of your house that has an opening, a window, the eaves, a door, garage, anywhere like that. Please operate it only outside. Please let it cool off before you refuel it. And if you're storing gasoline, store it away from your house. And again, I reiterate, let that engine cool off before you fuel it. The exhaust that comes off of those generators is deadly. It doesn't have an odor. You don't know what's happening. So please be very cautious in using your generators. And as I stated, the East Bank Consolidated Fire Department is ready to serve.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm going to kind of repeat what's been said about 6 or 7 times already. If you can get away, leave. Please don't stay. I've ridden out 4 storms in this parish, and I can tell you it's not fun. It's really not. And if you're going to stay and you hunker down with us, don't get out. Let us get this thing, get ahead of it, and we can get out and really do that what's safe for everybody in the community. I mean, look, our water assets are ready. We expect water. We expect rain. But please, be mindful that we have to stay. It's our lives as well as yours, protecting yours, and we want to do what's right for you, too. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next, Dr. James Gray with our superintendent as our superintendent of Jefferson Parish School System. Dr. Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. We've decided to close all schools and school-related activities for Monday, August 30th. We will be making a decision about Tuesday as soon as possible. Beginning this afternoon, once school dismisses, after-school care and all extracurricular activities have been canceled. We are going to be proceeding to communicate with our families through our emails and through our messaging system. But I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to thank our teachers for, again, pivoting to try to support our kids as much as we possibly can during another difficult time, but also for our plant staff. I don't know if many of you realize that our average age of our buildings in the public school system is like 60 years old. And because of that, we have some issues that can come about. Our plant staff has been doing a phenomenal job the past couple of days preparing for the storm, and we'll try to get things up and running as soon as we possibly can. At this time, I just want to say stay safe to everyone, stay safe, and hopefully we can recover from this as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.
Obviously, our council district offices are an integral part of Jefferson Parish government, even during these times. They're legislative, but they're critical to us. They know all the directors' phone numbers, and they and their staffs are an extra eyes and ears within their district. They've been working hard every day, so we rely on them a lot, especially during these times. So on behalf of the Jefferson Parish Council, I want to introduce Council Chairman Scott Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. And Chief Tibbetts, I got a generator today, and people on my staff called me and said, please get that away from him. But I promise I will be safe with my generator. I'd like to reiterate generator safety as well. It's easy to mess up, so just pay attention to what you're doing. Grand Isle and Lafitte are obviously on our minds. I've been in contact with the mayor there in Grand Isle, David Carmadel, and the mayor of Lafitte, Tim Kerner Jr., as has Marion Edwards, who represents that district. Ricky Templet is on Grand Isle. That is the lowest lying area in Jefferson Parish, Lafitte, Grand Isle, Barataria, Crown Point. All those areas are hit the hardest when a storm comes in, especially at the angle that this storm is coming in. It's going to be bad news for them, more so than anywhere in Jefferson Parish, more than likely. So we're going to be attuned to what they need leading up to the storm and after the storm. In terms of utilities, Patrick is the best. I mean, I'm not just saying that because he's behind me. We have direct contact with all of our utility partners during every storm. So we are here as a resource for the public. You can contact any council office, District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or your at-large council members, and let us know what's happening in the community, and we go to them. And we expect responses from them, and they respond. That's why they're here. That's why we're here, to hear what's going on with you, where help is needed, and we make sure that those things are addressed. So Entergy, AT&T, Cox, come to us, and we go to them, and let us act as the middleman between your problem and the solution. When it comes to our pump situation, we know that everybody is on top of it in Public Works. I had a question today about something in Councilwoman Van Vranken's district, which I'm sure she has heard as well. You might have heard yesterday that one of the pumps at the 17th Street Canal Pump Station is down. That is an Orleans Parish pump, but it also affects the Hoey's Basin area in Jefferson Parish and Old Metairie, Metairie Country Club, that side of Old Metairie. That is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be down about 12% in the pumping capacity on that pump. So it is down, but it's not a total detriment to that pump station. They're fully confident that what is left at that pumping station, capacity-wise, will more than get the job done during this weather event. Again, contact any of your council offices if you need us. We're all standing by. We're all ready to react. We're all ready to respond. That's why we're here. I won't repeat anything else that's been said by everybody else, but that's the main reason I'm up here today, is let you know that the council is here to work for you. We're the same as you. We just were thrown into elected office. We have families at home, and we have assets in Jefferson Parish that we want to protect just like you want to protect them. So call on us if you need us, and we will get answers for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to conclude, we have a mandatory evacuation order outside of our levee protection system, Grand Isle, Lafitte, Lower Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point. Within the levee protection system, it's a voluntary evacuation order, but we are encouraging everyone, if you can leave, go ahead and leave, and do it early. I told my family, go where we're gonna send you, go have a long lunch before you can check in your hotel rather than sit on the interstate. So go ahead and leave early so we can get as many people out as possible who wanna leave, okay? With that, any questions? I guess we did a pretty good job, guys, huh? Okay, all right, everybody be safe, prayers with you. Thank you very much for being here.